How's everybody doing tonight? Sorry if it's taking me longer to start than usual. Like it may be staying on that screen where you're just like looking at the desk for no reason because I'm simulcasting now to YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter all at once. So YouTube was pretty easy. I've got like 453 consecutive days of experience doing that, and there's actually nothing to it. Rumble, you have to set up an RTMP, I think it's called, but it's pretty simple as well. It goes on right away. It's actually quicker than YouTube somehow, but it doesn't pick up the chat comments. I'll see your chat comments. Let me mention here about the chat comments. The device I'm using to simulcast is called a YOLO box, and it picks up the comments from YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, but not from Rumble and Twitter, which are RTMP, which is what I'm simulcasting to: YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter. So Twitter's the new one. This is only the second day doing Twitter. I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know if anyone's even really seeing this on Twitter. I'm looking at it right now. Let me see if I wave my hand. Yeah, I don't see my hand there. I'll push the box a little bit just to see if it might be delayed on Twitter, or maybe it's not even playing. Okay, there's my hand. Okay, so I guess it's playing on Twitter. You can post. What I'll do with the chat is I'm just going to visually look at them. So if we go here to the instruction manual, obviously there's pages in the instruction manual, but there's also segments and panels. So after each panel, I'll look at the, I'll take a quick look at the chat. And if anyone's talking about anything, I'll try to reply to it. So if nobody posts questions, I'm just going to talk about the model the whole time. But if you post a question or a comment, I'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. I don't really have an agenda. I don't have anything to hide. It's funny. I want to sort of harken back to when this stream first started, because I'm hearing a lot of people say the same thing. So when I first started it, there was no point to it other than I was reading articles about all these January 6th people getting arrested for doing absolutely nothing. And I thought, I just kind of had the idea that I'll start a stream and then I'll be live for an hour every night, and then the FBI can see that I'm not a criminal. Which you might think like you're going to give up a 1 hour per day. That's like a 24th year life, and I don't take any days off. So it's literally a 24th of my life is spent streaming. But it's not really a problem because I already was in the habit. I used to do comic books from 11 to 12 each night, so now I'm doing streaming. So like tonight, let's say I started at 11:20, no big deal, means I go to 12:20. And it was the same thing with the comics, If I was working late one night and I didn't get to the computer until 3 a.m., well, then I worked on comics from 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. Or maybe sometimes I didn't even work on it longer than 5 minutes because I needed to get sleep or, whatever reason. So, and that will happen sometimes with this stream. There'll be some nights where I only do 25 minutes or something like that. I don't know when those nights will be, but it'll happen. All right, so I'm grabbing the tools out of the box here. We're going to start building this or assembling this Stag Beetle in a minute. This is basically a box of screws that they gave us. There's some other things besides screws. There was this circuit board, which you can see here. There were these wings. It's not all screws, but there's a lot of screws. All right. Almost there. So we built the base, which is, it's not really much to it. It's just a squat cylinder here. We put the ROKR plate on there. We put the pedestal, or this is the pedestal. What would you call this? I don't know. Let's call this the base and this the pedestal. Basically, it's going to hold the Beetle here. So here's kind of a look at that Beetle line art and full color. I think I have that kind of upside down. Make more sense like that, and obviously it does. ROKR, Organisms Awaken. What does that say? Mechanic something? Mechanic organism? Mechanic. It seems like it should say mechanical organism, but I think it just says mechanic organism. Let's check the box. Mechanical age. Organisms awaken. I don't know. It must be very faded if this says mechanical age, organisms awaken. I don't know what the hell it says down here. It looks like mechanic organism. I don't know. You'd have to ask the people at ROKR. So anyway, built the base, and we assembled somewhat. I'm not even sure which side. Okay, this side's definitely down because you can see the pins that are going to connect to where the power is going to come from. And this is going to have wings that flap. I'm just manually flapping them now, but they're going to be automated. That's the power button at the end. And we started to do the body of the, it's like the belly of the Beetle. And you can kind of see how this is all going to come together. You see the two rods here. And you see the two, you see the two holes coming through the cylinder there. And, I mean, I'm not going to guess which way it's going to face. Actually, it doesn't even fit in there. Okay. If you take a close look, there's a lip, and there's two openings. And on here, there's, so it's probably going to go in like this, and then turn one way or another. But I don't know which way it's going to turn, and I don't know how difficult or easy it's going to be to remove it once we lock it in. So I'm not going to touch that until it's time to do so. So we got to take a look at the instructions here. My screen just went blank. Oh, so, all right, Twitter doesn't hold the screen attention. All right, so I'm going to put it on Rumble. I don't know, I almost said Rambo for some reason. I was watching this documentary on YouTube. It's kind of a simple, I'm not even sure if it qualifies as a full documentary. It was more like an interview with Sylvester Stallone while he was like moving, I think from LA to New York, and he's like loading up all the stuff. It actually kind of works because they're loading up all the little knickknacks that he has, and those are references to the movies he's been in. And I don't even think it's accurate because there's another show where it's like his daughters and his wife, and I don't think they're moving in that show, so I don't know when this Netflix was done. Maybe it was temporary, but anyway, they interviewed Stallone. He's had a pretty amazing career. He has like at least three series, Rocky, Rambo, and Expendables, which have, I think, 4 movies minimum, and some of them have more than that. They might be up to about 7 on Rocky by now, if you count the Creed movies. All right. So it was basically an interview with him. I think they also interviewed his brother and his producer. Let me talk about the model for a second, and then I'll get back to that. So it says, wait a minute. We're not looking at the right page. Okay, we're supposed to be up to page 13. That was page 24, so that explains why that made no sense. All right, so page 13. Still not there yet. All right, here it is, page 13. All right, so we need 2 P28 screws, which are the screws. We have a ton of those. And we need the C6 piece. And there's some instruction. Pay attention to the direction of C6. It looks like both sides have 2 circles. One side has a line and the other side doesn't. So it's the side without the line that should face away from the piece that we put in yesterday, that like 3 sort of bulb piece. All right, so 2 screws, 2 P28 screws in the C6 piece. So that's going to bring us up to 66 pieces. All right, so while I grab those pieces, I'll talk about this Rocky documentary. No, Sylvester Stallone documentary. So anyway, it wasn't that long. It was only like 90 minutes long. So there were only so many segments in it. And one of the segments was based on that speech, which I think is in the Rocky Balboa movie, where he's like talking to his son. And he's like, I thought winning was done. It's something like that. And he's like, it's not how hard you hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, how much you can take and keep going forward, or something like that. So I've played that clip for my son many times. It's actually my middle son. In fact, I even would leave it playing sometimes. And he even asked for it to be played sometimes. So we probably played that clip in this house dozens of times. And that was one of the things in the movie. You know, I don't know if he knew it was, they didn't really ask the question like, did you know it would be big when you filmed it, or did you realize it later? Hold on a second while I look at this piece up closely. So I'm not really sure where the tabs end and the piece starts. You see what I mean? Okay, from the side you can tell. Okay, this is the angle you need, if you can even see it from that angle. But you see those circles? Those are part of the piece. And then beyond the circle, that's where we're going to nip. So you can see it from the side. Couldn't really see it from the other angles. There was some interesting stuff. It's actually, you can listen to any Stallone. Like, they didn't even need to make this movie. They could have like jumbled together all of his old interviews. But actually, in this movie, in this documentary on Netflix, the old interviews are playing on like a tape deck, and Stallone's sitting at his desk, and he's commenting, on some things that he said in the past, maybe how he would have said them different. Like one of them was, he's describing Rocky, the original Rocky at the time it came out, and he's like, the now 75-year-old Stallone is like talking to the Stallone on the tape, listening to his description of Rocky, and he's saying it's like a love story, and he keeps repeating love story, and the 30-year-old Stallone never says it, but the 75-year-old Stallone is saying Rocky's a love story. But actually, I think the way he described it at the time was good. I don't think if he'd called it a love story in the 70s, it would have been as popular as it was. There's a lot of interesting stuff in the movie. One of the interesting things was the Expendables series. He said his inspiration for that was seeing an old concert. No, not an old concert. A concert full of old timers, like a rock concert. He describes it better in the documentary. You got to watch it. But basically, it's like all these old timers, and they're not doing what they used to do, but people still want to see it. And that's how he got the idea for having all those like action movie stars in the Expendables, because he just thought, people will just be curious if nothing else. And they actually end up working. Of course, some of the people are still making action movies like Jason Statham, but yeah, a lot of them are kind of like retired at this point. But they're in that movie. All right, I picked up the wrong piece. I was picking that up and going like, where am I supposed to put this? Well, it was the wrong piece. This is the piece, and now it's much more obvious. I think it's obvious if I'm looking at the right section here. Those 2 circles right there. Now this little piece, they want, there's no line on either side. They were like, be careful which side you put it in, Make sure it's not the side with the line. There's no line on either side. There's a dent on this side. From this side, there's a dent. From the other side, there's a dent on both sides. Yeah, I can't tell which side is which. As far as I can tell, they're identical. Pay attention to C6's direction. That's what it says. Pay attention to C6's direction. But I don't see... The only thing different is that line. And like... Do you see the line? Because I don't see the line. So... Oh man, I just dropped the piece. Now I got to go on the floor and look at it. All right, while I'm looking for that piece, I'll tell you about Stallone. By the way, I found the piece. Did you ever like drop a water bottle and then you look down and it's like standing straight up for some reason? Or sometimes it's even like standing on the cap. This piece was like standing straight up, like right by my foot. It like couldn't have been easier to find. So anyway, there's a ton of Stallone interviews on YouTube. You can watch them. Like, you didn't even need to watch this documentary. Someone could just watch those YouTube videos, which I do. There was at one point where I was like watching one per day. Like, I would watch one and then I would think like the next day, not watch, listen really. Because Stallone says a lot of smart stuff. I know that, okay, I found the line. This side has the line. I don't know how to show it to you. Let me try this camera. All right. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. You see that line? It's right at the bottom middle. There's a line. On this side, I guess it won't be a line. Yeah, no line on this side. So the side with no line, that's going to point away from this. So this is how it's going to go. That's what they want. So anyway, you can watch this Netflix documentary, or you could just watch, listen to while you're working one Stallone interview per day. But the problem with that is that you'll spend like, I don't know. I mean, just think about it. You're going to listen to one interview. The interviews are like 20 to 40 minutes long or whatever. And you're going to listen to like one per day for a month. Hoping for those pearls of wisdom that Sly drops every once in a while. But if you watch the Netflix documentary, you get only the good parts. It's either he's repeating it or he's commenting on his old interview. So it's like you get like just the best stuff. And I'm not saying there isn't value to watching the old interviews. There is. But, if you're not sure you want to invest all that time, you can just watch this Netflix and get a lot of good stuff out of it. Now, I'm screwing these screws in. I can't even see them. I think one of them's in further than the other, right? This one's definitely in further than this one, so I guess I should screw this one some more. All right, now they're both in there. And that piece is there. So I guess we're moving on. It's all good to go. All right. I'm just checking if we finished the panel. So I'm checking if there's anything in chat. There's not. Put anything in chat and I'll answer it. If you want to be on the show, I can send you a link and you could join audio or video, your choice. All right. So the next panel of instructions, we're adding, there's an order to it, by the way. We're putting like a gear between the piece we just put on. We do that first, and then we slide a rod through that. The rod is in bag 4, it's P18, and the gear is in bag 5, it's P24. So we need 2 pieces, and there's a specific order which we put them in. And they're going to go into this piece that we just added. We just added it, and now we're going to add 2 pieces to it. P24 and P18, so that's pieces 67 and 68. They're coming from bags 4 and 5. The rod is probably going to be tricky. There's probably going to be a bunch of rods of varying lengths. We might need the calipers to figure out what's what. Find out in a second. All right, there's bag 4, which has the rod, and there's bag 5, which has the gear. There's actually 2 gears in here. I suspect the smaller one is the one we're looking for. But let's verify by checking the parts list. So P24, it is a gear. And yeah, it's the smaller one. The smallest gear is P23. The biggest one's P25. Oh, there's also a P26. P24, I'm pretty sure it's that middle-sized one. Okay, one of them, I think it was P25 or 26, is this like cylinder one. And this P24, which we need now, it's kind of like the shortest one. Is that the one we need, or do we need the bigger one? Yeah, and that's the one we need, I think. It looks a little small for that location, but I guess that's it. All right, there it is. Let's do a little size check. See, it looks to me like it's a little small for that location that it's going to, but let's find out. All right. Yeah. Well, I guess that's kind of a snug. I mean, it's not very snug. I feel like I should oil this piece. Not oil, lubricate it. Because, is it going to be spinning? I mean, it's going to be on a circular rod. It almost looks here like a rotisserie chicken cooking mechanism. So why don't they tell us to lubricate that? I feel like we should do it anyway. I'm going to do it. I feel like the rod and the piece should be lubricated, but I'll just do the piece. They gave us lubrication, and they haven't told us to use it much. So we're just going to decide on our own right now to use it. Okay. Our piece is ready. Now we need to find the rod. So the rod is P18. So let's check the parts list to see the size of P18, and then we could use the calipers to find one. Oh, okay. We can identify it by the color. P18 is gold color. I don't know why this rod that's on the inside of the machine that no one's ever going to see is gold color, but it is. It's 10 millimeters long, which is fairly short, considering there's a 40, but there's a 13 and a 16. So it seems like it's the smallest rod in bag 4 in lengthwise, and it's gold. So I don't think we'll need the calipers. I think we'll be able to find that fairly easily. Yep, there's a gold rod of small length. So there we go. No calipers needed. Might be tricky to thread this, but I guess we're going to find out in a second. I feel like I need 2 needle nose pliers, like one to hold the gear and one to thread the rod. I think I'm going to hold the gear, and I'm going to do the rod with my fingers. My goodness, I keep dropping it. I picked it up the first time before. Oh, that was before I whacked. That was before I lubricated it. I lubricated. Now I can't hold on to it. Maybe that wasn't such a smart idea. Could always use a paper towel to wipe it off. All right, I'm switching. I'm going to hold the gear with my hands and the rod with the needle nose pliers. It's a little smaller and therefore needs a little more care. Let's try again. Definitely tough working with these tiny pieces, but we'll get it done. It's spinning. The rod is spinning. I need to get it like a tighter grip on it. Each time I go to put it in, it spins. Well, it started, but it's through the, it's not through the gear, because the gear is probably not lined up. It's like jamming against it. Can't really, ooh, I think it went through. I was about to say I can't see what I'm doing, but it went through. I don't know if I can prove that to you. You see that little gold fleck there? Another one at this end you see better. And then this spins, the gear spins. So that's done. Wasn't easy, but it is done. All right. Now we're done with that panel, so I'll once again check the chat. No, nothing yet. Okay. All right, let's see here. Next panel. Oh, we're going to use, again, one piece from bag 4 and one piece from bag 5, just like in the previous panel. So this time we're taking P21, which I think it's almost like a nail, and P25, which is that larger gear. So it's a copper nail. That P21 is described as a copper nail. The head of the copper nail cannot be higher than the surface of the gear, so it's supposed to sink. I forget what that's called. There's a term for that, but I forget at the moment. Countersunk, is that it? Okay. Assemble the copper nail to the proper position with the screwdriver. How's the screwdriver going to help with a nail? Screwdrivers work with, screws, not nails. I feel like the P5 piece has to be facing the correct direction, but they don't mention that. I guess we'll take a look at the piece and maybe it'll become obvious. Anyway. So we're putting in the copper nail in the gear, P21 and P25. Those are pieces 69 and 70. All right, so pieces 69 and 70. One is in bag 4, and the other is in bag 5, which we just used, but I did the lubrication afterwards, so I lost track of what I did with bag 5. There it is, bag 5. All right, so there's the big gear in bag 5. It's like it's got the biggest diameter of any of the gears, so that's a gear. And then in bag 4, we're looking for a copper nail. I've seen that nail a few times. And now we're actually going to use it. Now, before we deal with the nail, let's take a look at this gear and see what it looks like on the two sides. So, all right. Looks like an Oreo cookie. All right, so there's a hole. There's a big hole in the middle and a smaller hole on the outside. Let's see if that's the same on both sides. No, it is very different. This is the side with the countersink. So this is going to be the upside when we place this piece in. Good thing we checked that. Alright, now we need the copper nail. So it should be the only thing that looks like a nail. It's right here. If you can see that piece. It looks like a nail, not like a screw. You can't see it. I'll get it out and then you'll take another look. Magnification is good on these cameras and the monitor, but the lighting is sometimes an issue. I can't grab it. Alright, let's see what we got here. I'm trying to sort them by feel. I think I picked up like 3 pieces at once. Alright, I'm pretty sure we got the right piece. So there it is. It's a copper nail. Just like they described it, it's got a nail head, a body, a threadless body. It's copper nail, copper color. Alright, so they want it to countersink. So we can drop this in. The screw goes all the way down. And then, where does this go? It says to use the screwdriver when installing it. I don't know why I would need the screwdriver. Alright, let's see here. Oh, it's very obvious where it goes right there. Let's see if we can get that in. So you see that circle there? That's where this goes. Let me see if I can do it upside down. Put the circle onto the nail. No, that's not going to work. Alright, let's do it this way. We'll have gravity on our side. It's not going in yet. I don't know if it's not lined up or what's the problem. They said to use the screwdriver, but I feel like that doesn't make sense until it's at least started. Could like double check it once I've started it, but I've failed like 10 times in a row to get this thing through. I don't know when to put pressure because I don't know when it's lined up. Okay. As soon as I cover it with the plastic piece, I no longer can see the metal piece. And it doesn't go through to the other end, so I can't even check there. Just have to feel it sink in, I guess. I said to use the screwdriver. It doesn't seem to make a difference. I think we have to go back to the upside down strategy that we rejected at the beginning. Because we can like see it going in from this angle. Well, I thought we could. Obviously it didn't go in. Wow, what is going on here? I feel like it's sticking. Oh, there we go. I felt like it was sticking but not going in, but now it went in. Oh, we definitely should have lubed the bottom of this piece. We didn't. Anyway, it's in there. We got the nail in the middle of the gear. The gear spins. Should I try to get some lube down in there? Let's do it. The instructions don't say to lube these pieces, but they gave us a ton of lube, so I feel like we got to use it. Plus, I mean, come on, it's a spinning gear. Of course it needs to be lubed. When you do a wooden puzzle, you always wax every gear. So for this plastic or metal puzzles, I feel like, well, I need to lube every gear, right? I mean, why wouldn't you? All right. Would have been better to lube it before I assembled it, but better late than never. All right. Have we even finished a page tonight? I don't think so. I think we started the day on 13 and we're still on page 13. Wow. Okay. Next panel. And let me check the chat. Nope. Well, everything's still running at least. That's nice. All right. Oh, now it says grease the shadow areas. Okay. So they are asking for lube. Where do they want that lube? This here. That's where they want it. Well, if only I had looked ahead. They asked for lube on the very next section. Right there, that little slot in there. No idea what's going to go there, but we're lubing it up. I'm just like trying to angle it to see if I see it glistening, which I wasn't. So let me see if I can get a little more lube in there. I want to be able to see it glisten. All right, I definitely got some on the toothpick. You know, I think it's just a dark little corner, and I can't see the glistening. But I definitely got some lube in there. Not to mention all over my fingers and all over the bag. And all over my desk, which I don't see how I'll ever get it off. I think I'll just throw this out after a year. It's probably been about a year. I should get a new mat here. Just throw this one out. All right, grease the areas. Now, they got a little question for us. To operate smoothly at last, please grease fully. Okay. So this direction says grease the shadow area, and then this direction says to operate smoothly at last, please grease fully. So it was like grease this area, and the next instruction is like you're probably an idiot who didn't grease it, so please go grease this area. So like they gave us the same instruction twice. Like they didn't believe we would do it. All right, we're moving on to segment 5 now, but we're still on page 13. Segment 5 is they want some like weird triangle-ish piece called P16. They want 2 of them. I want them to stick them through A9 and then drop another copper nail, a P13, through them to keep them in place. So that makes sense, right? So 2 P16s, A9, and P13. So that's going to bring us up to 74. 74 pieces. All right. So bag 3 has both the P16 and the P13, and then A9 is a plastic piece. Are we done with this A sheet yet? All right, so this is A9. You can tell it's not A6 because this is nope, actually you can't tell that. All right, 4, that's actually piece 5. There's no A9. What the hell are they talking about? There's no A9 on this sheet. This is A5. There's no A9 on this sheet. There's an A6. All right. We're going to have to look at other sheets. Oh, you know what's the problem? This is sheet C. I don't know why I picked this up and decided to claim it was sheet A. All right, now this is sheet A. We got it right finally. And here's piece 9. You can see it's 9. Based on the other numbers, it should go the same direction. It also has a line at the bottom. Wow, it's really tough to see that. All right, now you can see it, right? You see the 9 there. So this is the piece. We got to nip it out. 2 connectors. That's not the nipper. This is the nipper. All right, there we go. Now, bag 3 has all the other pieces we need. It seems like whatever bag you're looking for, that's always the one on the bottom of the pile, like it's been the longest since you used it or something. There's no triangle pieces in here. Oh, it's 2 barbell-shaped pieces that you put together to create a triangle. Okay, I got you. All right, so these P16s, you're going to use 2 of them to create the triangle. Or the, what is that, a lambda or whatever? I forget. Now I feel like I have to look that up to see if it's a lambda. All right, and then there's also P13, which is a copper nail. They got 5 of them in here for some reason. I don't know, we're going to be using them like crazy, I guess. Press the copper nail to the end. It says that in the instructions. By the way, we're going to need a second one of these P13s for the next panel. So I'll just grab 2 while I'm here. And I'm going to increment the counter to 75. Is that a copper nail? Yeah, I think so. All right, so here's the A9 piece. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's a slit there. And that slit is where these P16 pieces are going to go. And then the nail is going to drop through the top and all the way through to the bottom. There's a slit on the bottom and on the side, so you got to be careful. I think this is not going to be easy because we have to hold these 2 together and drive a nail not only through them but through the plastic. I'm wondering if I should hold them just like together like this, just till I get the nail through and then separate them. Does that make sense? All right, let's first try doing them separated. If that fails, then we'll try putting them together, which seems like it would work easier. Would be easier to do. I can't even get these things in here. Yeah, this is a fail. All right, we're going to have to do them together. I don't know who possibly can do them separately. Not I. We'll separate them after we get the nail through. Alright, that looks like it's on. Let's get the nail through. It's again not lined up. Ooh, I got it. Okay. It's through. We did it. Alright, it's sunk. Just like they said, make sure it's sunk. Is it sunk? Let's try to push it in a little bit further. First get these separated in case it tightens them down. Alright. Let's move on to the next panel. All right, the next panel is we're dropping another copper nail. But I'm not sure where. Suggest to clamp the copper nails with the nipper pliers to assemble easily. I'll use needle nose, not nipper. The nipper, you might accidentally cut it. But I'm still not sure where it goes. Goes through that big opening. And then there's a little circle there. Does that circle exist in real life? So it's above this big gear. I don't see any circle there. Are we at? Wait a second. Is that circle on the gear? Because if so, then I put this gear in upside down. Let me go back to the previous instruction when we put that gear in to see if I did it wrong. It's hard to say. There definitely was another circle on that piece. Yeah, that's how it goes. But will it countersink from that direction? All right, so we put that in upside down. I think we can get that out pretty easily, but I'm confused because the countersink was working. So how could it possibly be upside down? Well, it'll give us another chance to put some lube on it. I don't want to break the, I don't want to bend the gears because then they won't work. Wow, can't believe I made this mistake. It might be tough to get that piece out without bending either the gear or the nail. I don't think the nail is going to bend, but the gears might bend. And I can't push it out from this end because there's a plastic cap there. What if I put the screwdriver at one end and the needle nose at the other end? Will that work without damaging it? I felt some movement. Yeah, the nail is out. I grabbed the nail. Nail is out. Okay. Alright. So we gotta flip this over. There's no countersink on this side. It doesn't make any sense. There's the circle here. That's good. We need that. But there's no countersink. Oh, it's crazy. Oh, okay, yeah, there's a bigger one there. I don't know how we even got this in. I don't know how we managed to jam that on incorrectly. But we're going to fix it. Does anyone remember which screw was which? The shorter or the longer? I think this one was the one we needed. Wow, I can't believe we put that in incorrectly. I can't believe it went on incorrectly. Like, how did we even manage that? Oh, it's so easy when you do it correct. Oh man, that was so easy. All right, so now we have the circle. Though now I see this circle and wonder if that's the one we're supposed to work with. Well, we got a whole bunch of circles. Let's just go back and see what we're supposed to be doing here. All right. So, are we putting this into the gear? Is that the plan here? It's not gonna be easy if we gotta get this like square piece on top and then put it through the nail through the gear. Oh, actually it may not be that difficult because it's a wide opening here. All right. Let's see if we can do this. Let's match their orientation. All right, now. Is there a square? Oh, yes, there is. So that's why we lubed that square, because that cube is going to go into it. And then the nail is going to go through this slot into there. So there's going to be a lot of movement on this piece. And then probably those two metal pieces are going to go to the two sides. All right, I think we can do this. There it is. And now we got to line it up. I don't have enough light. I can't see it. I can't see where the hole is underneath. I'm just looking on the monitor. Can I see on the monitor? No, not that way. How about like this? Wow, there's still not enough light. I can't tell if the circle is there or not. It's there. All right, I see it. I think I need the needle nose pliers to get it in. That's why they were suggesting using the nippers, because this is going to be a tight squeeze. All right. Let's do the cube first and the pin second. It's a lot of tiny pieces you got to work with. I don't know who has the like hands to do this. Not me. I'm just trying to get that circle centered before I put this piece on. There it is, right in the middle. Come on. Gotta be able to hit that. These things are too tall. Okay, I got another idea. Like this. Well, that didn't work. But we're going to try again. The gear underneath moved a little bit. It's now on the right side. That's not going in. All right. I'll spin the gear a little bit to get the circle back. I don't know why it just popped into my head, but I'll say it. So I started the show talking about the January 6th, and to show that I'm not a criminal, I should mention that I don't think there was crimes. I mean, I think if the crimes committed on January 6th were committed, there was like 6 protesters who died, because there was some crazy, unnecessary, like riot containment things going on. I think they were crazy and unnecessary, but at the same time, I'm not going to say, I'll say that I'll leave it in the courts, to decide whether or not it was like too much force or not. Let's say I'm not going to pass judgment. But as far as a lot of the January 6 people that are now in jail for like long periods of time, I think those are miscarriages of justice. I mean, I don't know in every case, but I think in a lot of cases, people are being jailed for really no reason, especially considering there's many valid points. I think that Dinesh D'Souza did a movie with like 2,000, examples of problems with the election. And even if you're not talking about problems with the election, there was, I think it was some article in some magazine, and they talked about all the things that were changed during the 2020 election. And a lot of those changes didn't go through legislators that they were required to go through. Like the state legislator was supposed to pass some ordinance, but then the governor just said it as like emergency COVID, and then the media was saying like it's the most secure election in history. Well, if you're doing all this like drop boxes because of COVID and ballot harvesting and all this stuff, it's obviously a lie to say it's the most secure in history. You can say that you don't think the corruption changed the outcome, and I disagree, but to say if you say it's the most secure election in history, you're lying. That's a ridiculous thing to say. And the governor of, I think her name is Katie something or other, she's like the governor of Arizona, and she like repeated that. And that to me was like, it's almost like she's trying to trigger people, like, because Arizona specifically had like the most problems. I think it was in Maricopa County they had problems, and they deleted the memory on the voting machines or something like that, so that they couldn't even be audited. And then she's a year later claiming, or 3 years later, whatever, claiming it was the most secure. And that's like such a blatant lie that I almost feel like she's just counting on the law people being on her side rather the law being on her side. She's counting on like the judges being on her side. And I thought that's pretty disgusting. It's like the expression is, what are you going to do about it? Like when someone robs you but you don't have a means to get justice, and they say, what are you going to do about it? That's kind of like, I felt like that's what she was saying. Like by calling it the most secure election, it was like a way of saying, yes, we stole from you. What are you going to do about it? Because they want you to say, oh, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing. Because they're writing all these memos claiming that people are extremists. So they rob from you and challenge you, what are you going to do about it? And if you do something, then they call you extremist and they lock you up. So to do something, you just have to do it legally. You just have to go through the courts, and people will say, oh, but courts are lawyers, they're expensive. Well, it was your vote that was stolen. That means you can represent yourself. And if you represent yourself, then it doesn't cost anything but your time, which maybe your time is valuable and maybe it's annoying, but the other alternative is letting a crook steal, not just getting their name in the history books as governor, but once they become governor, they could steal tons of tax dollars and give them to their cronies and do all sorts of whatever chicanery. So I think you have, if you're a citizen of that state, you have every right to pursue, justice. I can't guarantee you'll get it, but you can try. But someone who's trying to trigger people, like emotionally on Twitter by saying an obviously false lie to try to get them to say something back, so then she can try to use like police against them. I mean, it's just like, it's like criminal behavior in my opinion. It's like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be a governor. Why are you trying to like entrap morons with your obvious taunting lies? Hillary is like the main person who does that. I don't know if people are gonna, I think Hobbs is her name. I don't know if if the like feds are gonna back up Katie Hobbs. I mean, she got to keep her position, but I don't know to what extent they back her up. Hillary, obviously, they back up a lot. And I don't know what that's all about. It's almost like she just has to point at someone and they disappear. And that's kind of horrible. I don't know that Katie Hobbs is in that league. I think she's more just, she got away with it because there was so much stolen in 2020 that's like, well, just one more thing stolen. It's like, you got to pick your battles, and I guess that wasn't a battle that was picked as needing to be defended. I know I'm kind of wasting a lot of time here. I'm trying to get this screw to go through this and into that gear. And honestly, I'm not even sure if that's what's supposed to happen. This artwork is very bizarre. And they did say to use the nippers. Maybe let me try the nippers, even though I think it's a stupid idea. Nothing else is working, so let's try the nippers. We somehow have to get this through this and into the gear below it. And every time I try to do it, it twists. See? It twisted again. I don't know if you can see that, but it's sitting in there sideways. Where'd it go? Yeah, it's in there sideways. Alright, we've wasted enough time. When I start the show tomorrow, I'm going to show you that screw is in place. I don't know how I'm going to get it in place. I know it has to go through here and then there. I'm going to do it off camera, and then I'm just going to start the show and say, see it, there it is in place. I will take one more try. And if it goes in, then we'll continue with the show. If it doesn't go in, then we're going to pick up tomorrow. The screws are already going to be in place, and I'll tell you some helpful hint into how I got it done. Nope. Yep, didn't work. So it's going to magically be there tomorrow night. I'm John Rapp. This is just Rest Your Eyes. Good night, and see you tomorrow.